Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. This was the car of the hour. Oh, that was kind of the car of the hour. This was the car of the hour, though. Like, I can't believe this is a drift car. I can't believe how mental this thing is. This is obviously this man's car. He's about to tell us all about it. I am overwhelmed by this thing, especially because I don't have the rally heritage of the Irish people. I don't know what it is. I assume it's an Audi Quattro that's been converted to rear-wheel drive, which is complete sacrilege and turned into a drift car. I assume that Group D is some type of play on words for old school Group B rally. So this man must have a hard-on for Group B rally, Audis and everything else. And he must have been so excited to build this thing because it must have taken thousands of hours to build and all of his money. So I'm gonna have Darren tell me all about this car, explain what it is, and I'm not gonna know any of the correct questions except little tiny like clever things I can say, which will be dumb to some people. Let's get started. Why?
There's some good assumptions, actually.
What?
We made a lot of good assumptions. So,
Oh, because of the Group D?
yeah, Group D is a playoff of Group B.
You know, I wouldn't have known that until I saw the Audi, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a Group B Audi Quattro. So when we started the project many months ago, probably about 8 years.
Did this car actually drive in Group B?
No.
Okay. It's a replica.
A version of it's a replica.
It's a cosplay car.
There was only 20 rally cars made.
Ooh.
So that's in the...
I don't know. You could have one in Ireland. I don't know anything about Ireland.
No, they're just gold dust. Like Audi have it in their museum and stuff, There was 200 short wheelbase.
I was going to say Sultan probably has one.
No, he doesn't. He's interesting you mentioned the rally heritage thing. He thinks this is weird.
Really?
So yeah, it's a rally thing. It's an 80s thing. It's a European thing maybe.
Totally, he's not into it. He's into supercars and
I think
other stuff. Bentleys.
The Group B rally exposure has been more of a YouTube thing in the States. Just coming across clips and going, what the fuck are these guys doing?
Yeah.
And it was in the middle of the 80s, and you hit the nail on the head with that. I mean, over here we're big into rallying, big into it. So these would have been hero cars, hero drivers. It was the best thing ever, in my opinion, Group B rallying. It's just, the danger, the speed, the lack of rules. We touched on with the other car, leaving the engineers just go mental. And they came up with some crazy stuff, and just the brutality of the 80s way of getting to things, be it forced induction, be it aerodynamics. 80s cars are just class, they're just so much nicer to look at. They've got the nostalgia thing, but yet they're just brutal looking. So this was the dream. My dream car was an S1 E2 Quattro, is what this is, kind of a replica of it, or my version of it, I should say. So there's some similarities, basically just the body kit, and then everything else is different based on what I would like to do. Drifting for me, I'll probably get crucified for this by European people or whatever, but drifting for me is a little bit similar to the Group B rallying, as in the rules are very slack. So the creativity really comes out. So you can do all sorts of shit, especially over here in Ireland and England and stuff, where the rules are more, you're safety based, and then the cars are, a little bit of monocoque rules between the wheels, but it leaves a lot of room for creativity and no power limits and no electronic limits and things like that. It leaves you go a bit wild. You could not use this car anywhere else, I guess is what I'm getting at, in any other motorsport genre. It would be illegal. Then you're not allowed to rally them anymore, all that kind of shit. They end up being display cars that do, they end up being worth so much money. They drive around and they're not driven hard like the old videos that we watch. So I said, I would make my own and do my own thing. Obviously, rear-wheel drive is my thing. So it ended up, it is rear-wheel drive. It is going to be a drift car. It is a drift car, but it's nowhere near handling where it's going to have to. But it's certainly a start. Engine works, everything works. It drives, all that. So we've checked off a lot of boxes with it the way it is. A very difficult project to get to the end of. A lot of work, a lot of modifications. Just again, just being a fucking lunatic and just thinking too far outside the box and causing yourself so many problems. But this last weekend was such a huge achievement for us to have the 3 cars there. We did so much work. We did so many things, and as I said to you in the previous video or whatever, we poured so much into this. for a small company. So this car is unique, one of one, will never be done again. You know, it is so special. It's great to unite as well. We get an awful lot of great feedback uniting, you know. The older generation love it because this was, you know, one of their hero cars, and then the young people love it. They've never seen anything like it. So it's great. We have people's, you know, kids' dads coming to see it and kids coming to see it. It's great, you know. It's such a cool car and just, again, an event in itself.
Yeah, no, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, so if you want to get into it, it's a 2.7 litre 5-cylinder. So the heart of this car is its party trick. It's 5-cylinder, very rare engine in motorsport. And they took it to a crazy level. The noise of these cars, if insert Group B rally pick here, is mental. So this engine had to be used, and it caused the biggest delay of the whole thing. They were 2.2 litres back in the rally days. This is 2.7, using a diesel block that's been modified, custom crank, custom rods, custom pistons, Group B rally car head, all sorts of fucking crap attached to it. Garrett turbo on it, you know, a lot of things had to be done here. The original engine also was here because that was the primitive 4-wheel drive system. They had to put engine, then gearbox with shafts coming out the side. So they had the whole engine in front, which obviously isn't acceptable. So we moved it way back to get a better balance in the car. Then you had we have a rear-wheel drive 6-speed sequential onto it. So it worked out really well that way, rather than trying to keep it 4-wheel drive. It has Sylvia front suspension and knuckles on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which
interesting.
you might recognize. But then it has Audi modified lower control arm, Audi subframe. Again, the rules being where they are allows us to, you know, use a bit more stuff. It has a Sylvia rear subframe on it, S14, full rear subframe. Got rid of the Audi stuff, which is quite common to do over here, is run Sylvia front or rear subframe. They're just so plentiful, all the parts are available. So we'd say the Corolla that you've seen us build as well, that's S14 rear independent suspension on the Corolla also. 700 horsepower, dry sumped, makes a lot of power, makes more power than the sprint car engine, basically. But a total different power delivery, very peaky, too much lag at the moment, so we're going to have to do a bit of setup changes on it. 6-speed sequential, it's got the full Group B rally car body kit on it, front, sides. These quarters are one off because the Group B rally car was 11 inches shorter with all the lint taken out of the back window, so the really stubby back window to make the car more nimble. Obviously that shortens the wheelbase too much for a rear-wheel drive for us, so we left it long. We then had to get a pair of Group B rally car arches, extend them, smooth them all up, make them nice, molded them, put a Pikes Peak rear wing in it. So this would have been the wing that was on Walter Rawls' Quattro when he broke the record in Pikes Peak in, I think, 87.
The actual wing or a replica?
Replica.
Okay.
But this is the style. But what I actually did was I bought a end plate from Germany off one of those wings, and I could then copy the wing from the actual, this is the actual size it should be. And then we bought 3 of the Group B rally car spoilers, and we made them into the Pikes Peak one. There was little changes, so we've got the rally car front and the Pikes Peak rear, kind of. So again, another unique thing. But it's got the rally car rear end and all the grills. It's got rear mounted radiator. It's just so 80s that it hurts almost. You know what I mean? It's just the way the aero is done, the shape of the car, just blocky, boxy. But it is totally unique and a real labour of love, a real achievement for us, I guess. But it's something that's been on the go for 8 years, and it's been. I got tired of being asked when it was going to be ready, so we made a big burst to get it done. But it's an incredible machine. Hopefully something that we can develop to handle quite well, do demos in and make appearances here and there. You know, to actually scratch it or scrape it for now would be a shame.
So I was going to say, you're not going to drive it like this thing, obviously.
No. Drive this thing like a blind person and just smashing into everybody. But this thing is job is to bang doors. This thing is my dream car. We've made it come to reality. Rear-wheel drive. It should be capable. It should be very interesting. But it'll do fun events and, you know, Matsuris or whatever you want to call them, festivals, things like that. For now, the novelty always wears off them. It does.
It doesn't. It doesn't though. There's a lot of cars like, say, the silly little BN Corolla, the green one,
Yeah.
at the show this weekend.
Yeah.
Like that gets people excited 20 years later, you know,
Well, I
after
mean-
that car was out of D1.
Yeah, but that
Like,
car was, it was, I don't mean in that way. I
scrapped
mean,
for a
I
while.
mean, the novelty wears off, as in there'll come a point where I won't be too worried about damaging it.
Oh, sorry. I see what you mean. Okay. I
This thing
misunderstood.
hopefully will be just iconic as the way it is, you know. Some people won't like it because it's sacrilege to what they used to be. It's not a UR Quattro, as we call it. The UR Quattro was the four-wheel drive road car. This is an Audi Coupe, which was a lower model than the Quattro, which was a cheap shell to start with. It's the same floor pan, so no disadvantage, same roof line. It was the same thing, but we did not scrap an original UR Quattro to do this, so it became a bit more achievable when you could get a base model that was cheap to start from.
I would say in some ways this is going to end up being better than those cars, though. Better engine placement, modern tires, and all these things. On asphalt, this thing would be probably faster than a Group B rally car.
Group B is so legendary that I think the power numbers and everything, they get blown out of proportion as the years go by. You know,
And they're probably crazy laggy and all these different things.
Crazy, but they're saying 500 horsepower on tap and all this shit. You know, probably no way. I mean, they had an ECU in them the size of a desktop computer to try and get the thing to go. You know, so it's just a thing.
Oh, and those cars had like hundreds of pounds of radios. And have you ever seen those things?
Yeah,
I was
huge
in a
headsets and-
museum. I was like, this car is way heavier than you think it would be. Holy
Yeah,
cow!
No, but it's just 80s, which is just cool. But
Right.
it's just such a myth at this stage. You know, so little people have seen them. They only ran for like a year and a half, really.
Oh, I understand. I'm just saying you literally have a better car than those. That's what's nuts, though.
I mean, it's two-wheel drive, so that limits its capability a little bit. But
Not really.
a little
You're
bit.
not going to drive this thing in the dirt.
No, we're not. But I mean, even track-wise, I mean, it is a drift car, so geometry-wise, it won't, you know, go around on rails. It'll be happier sideways. But that's what I like. That's what I wanted to do. We
Yeah.
can always change it to do something. I mean, it does look time attacky, which is just my style, I guess, with fins and skirts, and it does look time attacky. I'd like to do a couple of hill climbs, maybe. You know, some sprints, things. You can do anything in it.
Just to get videos of it doing cool stuff?
Yeah. Like if you get it doing a hill climb, it looks like you're bringing the 80s rally back. You know, you could get killed in the thing so easily because it get out of hand. It's pretty quick. It's powerful. You know, drift cars don't have the best brakes for
Oh,
prolonged
God,
braking.
no.
For prolonged braking, you know, but it's a very similar setup underneath to this, brakes wise, suspension wise, all that. So it should be fairly spectacular when it runs and when it goes well. It's pure race car, you know. There's no dash, nothing. Dry sump.
You cut out the transmission tunnel completely.
Yeah.
You have all these things in here that are non-covered. Oh, I guess those are in sleeves, aren't they?
Yeah.
Those radiator lines? Is that radiator lines or is that
they're
something
just
else?
rubber. Yeah. Dry sump tank in there. Haltech 2500 ECU. We did all our own custom steering controls, all the buttons on the steering wheel.
What do the buttons do? Anything important?
Yeah, you can read them there. They're pretty cool.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Launch, anti-lag. Is that launch control? Oh, do you ever use launch control?
No.
You just wanted it?
No, it's capable of it, so we're going to put it. It's just for the two-step, really. Because
Yeah.
the car sounds so good when it's just backfiring and stuff. This engine, this kind of is all the gimmicks, all the bells and whistles, you know. As in, it is a short car. So
You're like, I can do it. I'm going to do it.
yeah, if I leave the clutch out with the launch, it'll probably blow the prop shaft off it or something. You know, it's not meant to do that, but it can do it. It's got fly-by-wire throttle and everything, so it can do anti-lag and everything. So once you've got the capability with the Haltech, you just, when you wire the car, you just wire them all in. For
So-
this anyway.
So tell me some of the weird things. I always say I say it's not important, but like cars are a give and take or like a decision, you know, like whatever. I'm not doing well right now. When you're building it, like you put this intercooler out in front of the car next to the bash bar wait, is this welded on the whole bash bar? You can't even take it off?
No, it falls off through here.
Oh, there it is. I couldn't see that. I was like, that's a madman if you do that.
That's just the headlight bar. That's the bash bar down here.
Okay. All this stuff is mounted in hilarious positions for like normal S-Chassis guys and stuff. Like we'd see this and we're like, what in the world is going on? He hung a turbo almost basically directly. You could have almost just welded it on to the intercooler, which is hanging out here at the very like last, God, what is it, 5 inches or something of the car. So if you were to hit this thing, you'd blow the intercooler out of it, which, you know, could also break the manifold and do all these different things. That looks so cool, by the way.
Yeah, it does.
That's rad. Your thing is just sticking the exhaust out the side of the car, so you don't have to build a full exhaust.
Yeah, we merged the screen into this just for flames and stuff. But
Yeah.
I agree with you. But again, as you see with my cars, they have to be unique. They have to be different. You have to talk about it, whether it's inefficient or whether it's even smarter than before. You know, with moving this engine so far back, it became apparent quickly that we could not get a 4-inch exhaust down underneath this car. So it had to be rethought on how to get it out. Putting it through the bonnet, I wouldn't like just the Group E rally car bonnet. I'm not going to cut a hole in it like that.
Yeah. Sometimes that looks like poor drifter that couldn't afford their
very much of a
exhaust.
More of a drag racing kind of thing, just to exit the thing. It doesn't help either. If you need to go somewhere where you need to silence the car, you just can't. We can silence this, even though we don't have much room, but we can. Another couple of things came into it. Like, I mean, I bought a lot of engine parts, and the manifold was available to purchase, so I did. So that, again, just it all worked, and that went on, and it came off another car, and it's pretty good. So we reused that. Then we decided, the exhaust is going out here. Why don't we just make a straight shoot through? This car is quite interesting or different that it's full aero, so it only takes air in the top, so that limits where you put your intercooler. You can only put it in the upper section, which is weird for me or for you or anything. You've no open mouth at the front of the car, in the bottom of the bumper. So that means it had to go across the top. So we got a
You could have done some like little.
Yeah, we got a core from Garrett to get in there. A lot of this is
Ducting.
experimentation. This car will not remain like this. I mean, I don't like, this is obviously an inefficiency, too sharp of a bend and stuff.
Yeah.
I would like a bigger intercooler, but on the dyno, the intake air temps were very good. But we'll end up doing a lot of changes. The intake air temps are actually too good, which means I prefer a little bit more manifold back pressure and go with a bit of smaller turbo to get more response back and move my compromises that way, rather than having very low intake air temps and peak power. I'd like to take a little bit out of it, get the response back, and then in turn we'll probably generate more intake air temps with a small intercooler. Obviously, I'd like to go 4-inch. A lot of this was a lot of this is as we go. It looks very impressive. People love the look of it and things like that. We've already pretty much decided we're going to move the turbo up here at an angle and bring a downpipe out here. We have our dyno information now. We have our graph. We're going to do what we can to improve the graph, develop the car, and see where we end up once we move our turbo. It opens us out to better intercooler stuff. All this was done, got, and a couple of compromises, but it's done and it's running, which has been
That's important.
crazy thing to get to the end of, and it works better than you'd think. Some inefficiencies, yes, of course, but we'll get there. That's what we do, But just to get it even going is an achievement.
So I have a bunch of weird questions. Could you have done like a newer Audi 5-cylinder that wasn't, I assume that's a single cam? Sorry, I don't know about this
Twin
stuff.
cam.
Oh, it is
single
twin cam?
pulley, chain driven, second cam inside.
Oh, okay. So it is a twin cam.
Yeah, it's twin cam. Yeah, you could use like an RS3 engine or whatever. That's a more modern motor. It's chain driven. Its architecture is very different. It looks very different. And I did want the period correct engine.
Okay.
So I kind of ruled out. If I had it back over again, maybe I would, because this was a fucking disaster to get parts for and to do stuff. It just, the engine cost us so much.
Because I was going to say, like a new RS3 engine would probably be cheaper than this, wouldn't it?
Oh, way cheaper.
Yeah.
Way cheaper. And they actually are quite potent internally. Stock, you wouldn't have to change that much. You'd have it ready very quickly.
It would probably perform better too.
Maybe. I mean, you're still 2.5 litres of displacement and stuff, so I'm not so sure it would perform
But it's
better.
a super modern head and all the other stuff.
It is.
I don't know.
This head is big valve. It's been ported. The head is very efficient. This has an iron diesel block, which you can put boost into this thing. You can put a lot of boost into it. This is a very good and developed engine. There's been a lot of guys, because of the noise and the following that they have, there's been a lot of tuning on these engines, so that's what I wanted.
Okay, I don't know anything about those things.
Yeah, but
how about like the fuel and everything? You could have deleted this if it was on methanol and had a much more simple. Do you ever think about that kind of thing?
No, we use Sunoco. This is on E85, so we use ethanol on it.
But you don't ever see like Daigo's like no intercooler JZX and think like, oh, that's kind of cool. I could just like stand in the engine bay instead of doing all this.
Alcohol is a disaster, though. I mean, just the amount of it you need. storing it, safety has to come into it with the rig and the events and stuff, you know.
Is it that much different than E85?
Methanol would be.
Yeah.
Like,
It burns weird and all that stuff, yeah.
It burns your eyes out. If you use so much of it, then it's quite poor for the engine, the valves, and it's very bad at lubricating. Yeah, it's very hard to knock with it, so it's got its advantages as a fuel, but it's much more of a drag racing fuel and stuff. Anytime I've seen it used.
Yeah. I just meant if this is a demo car and you never use it, but storing a car with alcohol and all that stuff or methanol is probably a disaster anyways.
Ethanol is as far as I would
Even
go.
E85 is bad enough.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's as far as I would go. Even the consumption of E85 is a lot, and we run an additive with the E85 to lubricate the fuel pump and the injectors and keep everything a little bit happier. It's still harsh enough.
I should look into that. I have an E85 car and I just let it sit and rot.
Yeah. If it works, it works.
You're like,
Sometimes-
I'm just going to use a new fuel pump next time I get it out.
Yeah, sometimes you just get a great car. You never have to do anything to it, you know. But you should run an additive in it just to keep everything a bit happier because it eats everything.
Show me your 10 favorite details.
Ooh.
There's got to be so many things in here from like, I don't know what these plates are doing or what they're hiding or if there's something cool or if there's, I don't know anything. Tell me all your little details. And that was also the lamest thing.
The dry sump pump setup is nice. So this plate is a custom plate to change where the original oil pump was. And then we use where the original oil gear would have been inside it to drive the dry sump pump instead of having it more further forward. It actually keeps it as rearward as possible. So then it leaves just an alternator belt on the fluid damper on the outside. Also, this engine would have been externally balanced because it's uneven cylinders. So it would have been balanced with an original Audi pulley. Would have had a big weight on the back of it and stuff. But we've modified it to neutral balance, which is a very, very difficult thing to do because when you try to balance the crank, the machine tells you to remove weight and the counterweight doesn't exist in that position, if you know what I mean. As opposed to an even number crankshaft, even number of cylinders crankshaft. So when you go uneven, it gets really tricky.
This is race car stuff over my head.
It gets really tricky, but it has worked. It was a real question mark. But the engine actually runs really smooth. It doesn't even kick when you rev it or nothing, you know. So, and it is a naturally unbalanced engine. It cannot be balanced. You should, in theory, going by theory, balance a 5-cylinder with a balancing shaft. So it rotates the other way or whatever to balance the crank being unbalanced. But Audi didn't bother with it. They just left it.
I never thought about that. I recently watched a video on, is it Steve Morrison or? Anyways, one of those guys showing how to balance and, like cranks and all this difficult stuff. I didn't even think about how difficult it would be to balance a freaking
Uneven,
Audi
yeah.
5-cylinder.
So you can primary balance it, but you can't secondary balance it. So you can primary balance all the components and have everything that goes up and down the same weight. But then the secondary balance is not possible because it's uneven. It's like when it comes to the turbo, you can't run a twin scroll because you can't split the cylinders up.
I mean, you could and just let it be.
You could, but you'd have one firing twice.
So?
Well, that takes away from having a twin scroll.
Yeah, whatever.
No,
Nothing drifters do is ideal.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I think we do something different to drifters though.
Yeah.
So it's just the V-bands are so efficient now, from the V-band entry turbos. You just go with that since it's 5 anyway. But that's cool, yeah. The 6-speed is I like the suspension we converted. So these cars have a single pivot top from the factory. So it's like a cup below, a cup above, and one nut on top.
Okay.
They've no kind of PCD of 3 bolts for mounting it. So that was something that we took advantage of within the rules. Really was the PCD rule is in the rules.
Oh, it just has to be within the center of the circle?
But
Yeah.
then this doesn't have a PCD, so we just moved it wherever we fucking wanted.
That's hilarious.
And then this covers it up to stop people looking at it.
I mean, it's not like you're going to run this in any competition series that has that problem
But
anyways.
We did do it just in case. And since then, over here anyway, the rules have been relaxed a bit. So it wouldn't be a problem. But that puts it on KW 3-ways then. So Sylvia KW 3-ways all round. And I like the teardrop with the screamer.
You said you bought this stuff and it was Group B stuff. Do they actually, somebody make that?
Yeah, so
And they sell it?
There was a company in Bulgaria that had the front copied, and then the back came from Germany. And
So you can still buy some of these rally parts in replica. Okay.
Germany's
So
not irreplaceable stuff in Bulgaria, I can tell you that. It's great.
is this like an actual mold? Did they buy a Group B stuff and they molded it?
So the company in Bulgaria.
Okay, so it's exact.
They have a hill climb one, so they have a lot of parts. But all we're using really is the body panels. Like everything else is one-off. We don't use any other Audi stuff really. The engine is Audi, but it's so modified. You know, there's nothing genuine left. But this is a copy of it had to be authentic. You know, it had to be right. I've seen an awful lot of replicas that people do off of photos, and that never ends up nice or right. You need the proportions. You know, that's why I mentioned the side plate. It had to be proportionally correct, or it's just never going to look right. So all this is as genuine size, like, and shape and everything.
So as you are a builder of cars, and you build crazy stuff and it's beautiful, not to bring myself into this, but I've been buying like old race cars. Like I bought a Circle Track car in that stupid NASCAR thing, and I want an IMSA car. And like IMSA is like a super American, you know what IMSA is? Yeah. Like Trans Am series and all that stuff.
School, yeah.
Could you not just go out and buy like some old rally car that maybe is not as iconic as this Audi Quattro, and buy and convert rally cars into drift cars, and like you just buy a completely done rally car for pennies on the dollar, and just like pull the front axle shafts and add steering, and you know, change it over to S13 suspension and stuff? Do you have to go as far as building everything yourself? Because when you build it yourself, suddenly this is like hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, especially if, you know, you were charging a customer to do something, whereas converting some type of race car could be a lot cheaper. Well, although an all-wheel drive rally car is not probably the best thing to convert.
I mean, to be honest, any type of rally car, rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, is just too expensive. Like, never
There's
mind.
not any cheap used ones?
No.
Really?
No, even like, if you're even like a Mark II Escort, you know, the Escort.
Yeah.
They're probably the most accessible, but you'll spend like big money on a basic one. They're just massive in value. Never mind going absolutely iconic with a vehicle that barely even existed, you know, and trying to do that. So you'd have a very big outlay straight away to take all the shit off it.
So there's nothing
Rally
cheap
cars
out there.
are really dear. Yeah.
How about like old DTM looking cars and stuff? Where they're
crazy money as well.
But I mean, there's no like under DTM series that were basically the exact same cars and they had piles of them.
No, even like the Super Tours, the 2-liter touring cars and stuff like that. They're just all that nostalgia stuff that people want. You know, anything cool and nostalgic that people want. It's just mega.
Okay, what is the Circle Track NASCAR of Europe?
Over here we have.
Do you not have any cheap kind of it doesn't need to be Circle Track, but I'm just saying, you were in America and North Carolina, you understand how cheap all that stuff is.
Yeah, that stuff is.
What is the cheap thing in Europe that you could buy that was a real race car you could convert?
I don't think there's anything.
Really?
I don't think there's anything. No.
Oh, weird.
I mean, rear-wheel drive chassis are very difficult anyway. Basically, every European manufacturer is nearly front-wheel drive. With, you know, you've Audi, BMW.
Yeah.
So the rear-wheel drive market is old school anyway, and the minute you go old school, you get money.
Okay, so that was a tangent. That was completely useless, me asking him. Anyways, he's a shop, so he has to build something crazy, and he built something crazy. All right, keep showing me around.
Yeah, so...
What else?
6-speed Sane sequential, which is used a good bit in America. It's made in Argentina, actually. So that is a weird one.
What was the brand?
Sanes. So
I've never even heard of that.
They do a lot. They do a lot in Argentina. They're quite popular.
Why not like a Samsonis or something that's more local in Europe?
Well, Samsonis I'm not even sure existed when we started doing this. Maybe they did, but certainly not on the drifting side with their current gearbox. This was something that I had in a previous car. If you know the Need for Speed Corolla that I did many years ago, that had that gearbox. Okay. So it's something we kept over from that car. It's got the custom fuel cell in the middle, so keeping the weight between the wheels again. The rear then is S14. If you wanna stick in there, you can see.
Stick the camera in. Come on.
It's got a 14 sensor in it.
I'm not gonna have enough light, but you can see parts. Oh, it looks like one. What's the diff?
It's GTR 33 V-Spec at the moment.
All right.
But there's a quick change there for stuff, but...
He said it was a GTR diff.
Yeah, GTR.
It was stuffed in there. Is this all like look exactly like the rally stuff? Or is that more of like... Oh, wait, they wouldn't have rear mount radiator anyways.
They did have rear mount radiator.
They did?
Yeah, and then they used this in the Group B car. So this is the divider. So if you look at it from the front, it splits the air in half for the spoiler, half for the radiator. And takes it in. So that's a neat thing. They had the radiator.
I would have thought it would have kicked up too much dirt in the back or like dust or something weird to put the radiator back there.
No, they had it in here right against the trunk, as you'd call it.
The boot.
Yeah, they had it vertically, so we mounted it at an angle. I can take it off and show you. We mounted it at an angle just so I had a bit of insurance against wall rubbing.
You're not going to wall rub this thing on purpose.
Not at the moment. Not with this fucking spoiler, man.
You're going to have a couple drinks and go on track and regret it.
Definitely be in the wall in.
You need to put a sticker. I don't know if you drink or anything, but I was going to say, I see so many drifters do dumb things like, at the end of an event, like as idiots, and they like ruin their cars. It's so funny. You take off like the back of the car and it's just like a Mishimoto back here. Like you would think it's something insane, but you're just like little radiator tucked back, nothing crazy.
We use this in most of our builds. It's the dual pass kind of race one, It's like for the money, it's really, really good.
Oh no, I know. I'm just saying it's like unlimited budget, everything. And then like he's like, no one can see this, and he tucks a Mishimoto back here.
Yeah,
what kind of fence is it?
We use their OEM off a car. We use OEM, so we don't use any sort of modern brand or any sort of brand. We use a set of OEMs on these.
In America, we all use like a Taurus fans. Do y'all have like a European version of that?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. He's not going to tell us.
They're
Though.
like a Bosch. I can't. Every time I tell shit, I can't get it anymore.
Oh,
so
don't tell anybody.
Not doing it.
That's cool.
So it's got the race battery. It's got power steering pump, electric in the rear. Again.
This looks very similar to the way you did it on the other car.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
It's in the front in the other car. It's in the rear here.
Oh, I saw something in the back of the car down there.
Water pump.
Oh, on the very bottom, it's the water pump?
Yeah, water pump and battery. That's got the same water pump right there. And you just fill the fuel from here. And again, the jumping posts, so you can hide the battery and you can start the car. Or if we want to have the ignition on for a period of time electrically or whatever, we can jump it. Breather for the fuel and stuff like that is just all vented outside the car. But yeah, we have the deck of ducts in just to stop a low pressure area in there, so the fans can not just relying on the divider, because we are only obviously using this bit with the divider because we didn't put it vertical. So we give it an extra help with the neck of ducts in the side and down the back just to keep the air, so that the fans can pull air and not be starved for it.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So, or again, a lot of modifications to the suspension on the back like this one. So,
Does it? I didn't get to see it at the event. Does it move in a similar fashion to that one?
Well, it barely even drives. We just brought it out. We did a few donuts in it, a few figure of eights, and we put it away again.
That's why I missed it.
Yeah. We just did it in the opening ceremony, the driver parade. So we just laid that out and did a thing. I need to make front control arms for it. At the moment, they're only the mock-ups. And there's I won't be driving it in anger without having them done.
And when do you think you're going to have this thing at an event and we can see it do stuff?
Good question. I'll probably, now that the cat's out of the bag, we'll say once I get it to a point where I think I'm able to drive it, I'll probably take it to a good few places. It needs seat time and development, but the power delivery certainly isn't acceptable, so we need to repackage up front, get that more acceptable, and do the front control arms. From there, we need to start into our geometry. The rear is going to be simple. I haven't even done things like the correct subframe height and stuff. That's all just buttoned up for now. I like to move the subframe around to get kind of my base right before I go to the wheels, if you know what I mean.
Wait, do you move around the subframe just to get your ride height correct, or to like affect the handling? What do you say?
The handling.
Really?
So subframe height, yeah.
Woo!
So,
That's pretty technical.
Yeah, we move the subframe. Well, it moves all the inner suspension pivot points, as you can imagine. It moves them all in one go.
Oh, I understand that. I was just thinking like not many people think about doing that to adjust everything.
Yeah, well,
they just adjust things.
If you think about it, it moves them all in one go.
No, that's
so
good.
It does.
How much do you move it?
Oh well.
Millimeters at a time, or you're talking inches?
There's only so much you can go or do. So, but
well, it's an Audi. I have no idea.
Well, it's a cylinder.
Oh, I mean, yeah, okay. It's still
so this
crazy.
one would be along those lines.
Yeah.
So we pick where we think it is, and then we go on the wheel side to do the rest we want to do.
Okay.
So you start there, have it all. Everything pivots off of there, so all your intersection points, all your instant centers, they begin from those points.
I've been drifting for 20 years, and I'm ashamed enough to say I set all that stuff, do it, align it, just like rotate my coilovers where I think, and then unless there's something wrong, I never touch it.
No, I mean, and look, as I said to you, a talented driver, it won't matter.
I'm not a talented driver.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We do go.
I just rock around the track. The only thing I ever adjust is air pressure and tires. That always makes more adjustment to me than anything.
We do get to that point too. But
yeah, I know.
Prep, but no, it's just.
But you're one of the world's best drivers. I am not.
Well, I don't know about that, but we do take things a little bit too far, and some of them, a lot of it has been a lot of things that haven't worked, but Now, this thing, I mean, it won its first ever event. This one did, so out of the blocks, things are going really well, you know. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah, the Corolla at the weekend, brand new, everything.
That Corolla was awesome. I love that thing. It sounded way better than I thought it would too.
Yeah.
The exhaust sounded pretty good.
It's LS2 on it, but yeah, it's...
Wasn't potato-y though.
No, it sounds good.
Sounded good.
I'd like to put, I'm begging him to put a 358 in it. But on 15-inch wheels, 205, 50, 15s, the thing was going very well against some of the best cars that there is.
Have you driven that car yourself?
No, never.
No?
No, we just debuted it, let him drive it, and I mean, it handled, it changed direction, it pivoted, it self-steered. So just all the theory went into one event, no testing. So it worked out really, really well. You know, it's very easy to have a load of issues first time out, so that went very, very well. And that is a little bit unique as well. Sylvia rear, the front is Sylvia trail. But that's almost an impossibility with a Corolla based on the steering rack and crossmember position. So we've custom made a crossmember, moving everything. This is a custom front crossmember as well.
I was going to say, I've never built a V8 Corolla, so I don't know anything about where the subframe and like steering and oil pan and everything else intersect.
Regardless of engine, the engine is second to the suspension. So if I want the rack here, then the sump has to be happy with it. The sump has to be modified.
Is it dry sump?
No.
Okay.
It's wet sump, yeah.
Do you have room for the oil pan and everything in that thing?
Yeah, it went in fairly easy, yeah. It went in fairly easy. But this thing has a Toyota steering rack in it as well. We make our own front cross members. So we use a
interesting.
Toyota rack instead of a Nissan rack. It's just way beneficial to us to use the Toyota rack.
Do you sell them? Like that whole setup ready to go?
Not yet, but
Not yet?
maybe illegal for FD and all that. But
Who cares? I've been saying, like, I was bugging WiseFab. I'm like, sell front and rear subframes because they're getting hard to get for people and all these things, and like have everything welded in and everything else. Because they were complaining, like, oh, front subframes will be expensive. I'm like, not when some kid has to take, you know, their subframe to some fabricator to go, you know, like fix the steering rack location and everything else.
We have a jig made for the front, for the Toyota rack.
What Toyota rack? Just like a JZX 100 or something?
It is a IS300.
Okay.
IS300 rack. It's way more robust. It can take way more wheel-to-wheel contact and all sorts of stuff. Plus, it's so plentiful and it's not, you know.
Yeah.
Sylvia racks are so old and so expensive here now that they're just a joke. And one is totally different to the next one you get, and you get a good one and you break, and then the next three you get are stiff, and it's just a disaster. So we came up with we put the Lexus one in, or the Toyota one, and then I do have on my long list of things to do to make my own rear subframe.
That'd be rad.
Yeah, so that's something I'm.
I was gonna say, especially because like almost nowhere except FD probably, and then I don't know, maybe in the United States I was gonna say, but like there's not really that many FD drivers, but there's a lot of people that need, you know, subframes, and in the future it'll be important.
First thing people ask, oh, is it FD legal? And it doesn't fucking matter because there's only 20 people in FD anyway, you know.
Yeah,
so
that's my point.
Yeah, but eventually every series is gonna have to go, look, just leave them, put the aftermarket part in because you just can't get them. You know, Sylvias are getting that way. You know, every Sylvia that isn't a drift car now won't become a drift car. Whereas maybe 5 years ago we were taking them off the street, pulling them apart, building race cars. Now they're more here as a road car than they are as a race car.
Yep.
So no one's going to make any more of them. They are what they are now.
People are gonna have to figure out a new chassis and all these other things, or else people are gonna have to stop drifting.
It's just going to be a swamp of being.
Or I mean, not stop drifting, but new people getting into drifting will have a difficult time.
Just going to be BMW Central, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. In America, I'm hoping like the 400Zs, I know they're not 400Zs YouTube, the new Z car or whatever will become super popular, maybe the GR86, but we need more trash chassis with 200,000 miles so drifters can afford them.
Just in Ireland.
I don't want to step on this.
Don't step on that. It's one of one. In Ireland now, we've just relaxed the rules to allow you to rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive cars, you know, so you can use you can use any car.
Do you think do you think that actually helps? Because that'll require so much fabrication and there won't be available control arms, there won't be available angle kits.
It's a catch-22, but it's interesting as a concept. Now, also, we allow this kind of modification of putting a whole subframe into the rear. So then a lot of it becomes around the quality of the fabrication more than actually non-available parts. You could take the whole back out and put in a Sylvia rear or something plentiful, you know. So I think it's going to get to that point because you know the rear-wheel drive market is gone. It's totally gone. There's no more rear-wheel drive cars being made.
That's crazy.
Yeah, only how many people are making rear-wheel drive cars now, you know? So it's going to be old school
Mm-hmm.
cars that are going to be worth a lot of money, or we're going to have to look at something else.
Do y'all still have the ability to import cars from around the world?
Yeah.
Like Mustangs or something? Too much effort. One of the things I'll just butt in
Mustang
here.
is going to be, this thing is shit on a Mustang. Like, you know,
Oh, no, because they're so heavy and everything else.
they're
You're
going
right.
to be huge. Your minimum weight is going
So
to
what are
be
you going to have? Fiat 500s with sprint car motors in them?
a bit short, that
Yeah.
one. But an extreme example, I give you that.
I was going to say, one of the problems with drifting is, especially with like the grassroots, if everyone has to build a car and fabricate, that means every single new driver has to, before their first event, learn to become a mechanic, learn to become a fabricator, have a truck, have a trailer, have a storage space, all these different things. It raises the bar of entry before they can get into like the good chemical feels of drifting and getting excited and all the positive feedback of, you know, being at your first drift event. It really runs 90% or 95% of people out of drifting right away. Whereas Ireland, I'm not from here, but I suppose they had really cheap rear-wheel drive Japanese fun, cool cars. They were able to buy, rice out a little bit, take to their first drift event right off the bat, street drive them there and everything else, and they had plentiful supply of them. And that meant if 100 people went to bought a drift car or, right-hand drive, whatever, I'm melted brain right now, like a car that's rear-wheel drive and capable of drifting, the same weekend they could potentially go out, find out they don't have a diff or whatever, but still play with the car, street drive it there, street drive it back, have a good time. And out of that 100 people, not everybody would have a good experience, but maybe like 100 people would actually get to a track day. But if you fabricated a car like a Fiat 500 sprint car motor, 98% of people would never get to the track day. They would all fail. It would be a horrible, miserable experience for them. They would be burnt out on cars and they would never come back. So like maybe those things only work for competition use, but for grassroots, we have to figure something else out. We need available cars, we need available tracks, we need cost-effective stuff, we need cost-effective tires. Tires in the United States are super expensive right now.
Yeah,
And-
you make a lot of good points, but the grassroots scene here now is BMW E46
Yeah.
mainly, you know?
I didn't see any of that when I was here, which is crazy.
No, but you didn't see any grassroots, but they're the car 325, 328, you know, that's where people start to dip their toes in, and you can see straight away if someone can steer, you know,
Yeah.
they either have it or they don't, and that is going to remain. There's a shitload of BMWs out there, so that's going to remain for a good while. They end up being comp cars sometimes, and this, that, the other, but if you want to go into more tube frame based or more highly modified based in the top classes, it's just like, I guess you could compare it a bit more to stock car racing. You have your monocoque based
Yeah.
lower classes, and then when you get to the top classes, they're all custom. So maybe you can get to that level. Obviously, we're not going to do tube frame cars here. I don't think we should get to that level. But what we suggested for front wheel drive cars would be minimal modifications to make it work. You know what I mean?
Shopping cart trays.
Floor pans, for etc., being stock under your feet and things like that. You can tunnel them and everything, you know, but not cutting the whole car up, and because you open yourself out to some incredible place then that builds a carbon fiber bodied tube frame, and you don't want to get into that kind of stuff. It should still be steel and monocoque chassis, you know, but it's a difficult one. Who knows where we're going to go, you know? We're throwing off so much tire smoke and race fuel that someone might put an end to it all someday and say we're doing too much damage to some trees or something.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, like I've been around it a long time. I'm 37 now. I always say to the guys, like, at what point do you become slow? You know, at what point do the younger guys just have the reaction time and things like that? You know, so
I don't know.
Who knows that? Especially in drifting, I think you could hang on longer because it's not so physically demanding as doing 100 laps of a racetrack or something. So that's an interesting one. So I'd say just for now, we're doing as much as we can and having fun and competing, you know. But there will be a point where we won't do it anymore, we'll say. So hopefully I get the fossil fuel stage. I get all of that, I hope. Because the electric stuff is shite.
Yeah.
It's crap.
Aw.
Well, electric drifting, it's just like electric motorbike racing, you know. Once you lose the noise,
Oh, I
off.
agree.
60%
I was
big
kind of
deal.
all about electric cars because I rode in a bunch of really fast ones and drove them. They're really fun to drive. But we had some Tesla stuff come out to my events that I invited, and we watched them drifting. It was insanely boring.
That's
You
terrible.
couldn't hear it, and you're like, wow, this is really lame.
and the tires scraping almost.
Yeah.
Not even screen, they're just
So you've
scraping.
heard it then?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's awful.
I bet it's really fun to still drive them because it's such a weird, like, I don't know. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Motorsports is not going to live through that very well, I don't think.
The noise is just, it's part of the sensory experience of it. The car's passing you under noise. You associate the noise with the tyre smoke. You know, they both go together in volume. Once you take that sensory experience away, it doesn't become watchable. It loses its connection with you.
I was going to say I'm all about this car with the sprint car motor and everything because of that. Yeah. You incorporated noise into the build on purpose, which makes it a spectator sport. So that was excellent. Good job.
Yeah, so we do noise, and we do a little bit, like a lot of the rear wing and that. You can put this into the other video if you want. It was a lot to do with smoke management, to blind the guy behind you and stuff.
Oh, on purpose?
Yeah, we create a low pressure area on the trailing side of the car, we'll say, and it's going to hang the smoke up at roof level and pillow it back.
That's hilarious.
You'll find that if you drift in a state car, you know, it'll pillow the whole way up the side of the car and just run off of the roof. So then we create the low pressure area to fog the blind.
That's funny, because when you drove that Saturn Sky in FD, you designed the car to blind yourself.
I didn't do that car. I couldn't see a fucking thing.
Did you learn that off of that?
You learn in FD once the power levels started coming up in FD.
Oh no, I just meant you could blind somebody else instead of yourself. That's what I meant.
Seriously, in FD, you did learn, like, once the power levels started to come up, you're like, some cars were naturally smokier than others because of construction or whatever.
Yeah.
Or because of what was done to them. And then actually leaving the smoke out became a thing. You see all the holes appearing and the slots in bumpers and trunks and things like that. And then smoke management became a thing, and just take it to the next level. And
God. Yeah. We've kind of gone on too long. My wife's going to kill me, so I can't do more videos. But sometime I would love to, like, pick your brain or actually just listen to all the hilarious stuff like that, like smoke management and Formula D. I didn't really think about that, but I guess that's super funny. And there was all kinds of weird stuff that people thought would be a thing in Formula D, like the roller skate, or remember the rollerblade wheels on Sam Hubinette's car?
Bars,
all they're like, oh, we're going to slide the walls.
Coilovers on bumper bars and stuff.
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah.
I've seen so many of those are just like trashed and broken on the back of the car. You're like, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
Also, you're just making the car heavier and more complicated, and like parts
all in the wrong
fly
places
off of it.
and everything.
Yeah.
Hanging out over the back of it. But
all right. Well, we kind of rambled on this one, but I love talking. So if you're an Audi fan, I apologize that we talked about drifting too much on this thing, and that I did not have intelligent enough questions to ask about a rally car. But thank you so much for showing it to us, and thank you for chatting and giving me your time.
Just let me know and I'll answer them. There's no issue.
Oh,
except very, very technical suspension ones. They're not going to be answered.
Yeah, he will not answer the questions I actually wanted. I just wanted to know why that car moves the way it does, and he just says the sway bars are off of it and the coilovers move. I wonder if that's it, and he doesn't have any secret sauce. People always tell me, like, there's some crazy secret sauce, and then I look at something, and like, anyways. Okay, thank you for watching. Bam. And like always, Lone Star Drift always has an event coming up soon, and next one is round 5 at the Houston Police Academy, September 24th and 25th. Come hang out with us. And I also want to say thank you to all the sponsors, because we are lucky to have sponsors in the United States, such as BC Racing, Custom Coilovers, WhatMonstersDo.com, NK Wheels, Valino Tires, ECU Master, KBD Body Kits, and Spec Clutch. And thank you so much for watching, all the viewers, everyone that helps out, everyone that comes to the events. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.